Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jacob and Jacob podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Hare. Today, filling in for my co-host, Jacob Obam, I have my good friend, Sean Jordan on. Sean, thank you for filling in for Jacob. But our special guest today is former NFL head coach, Mike Mularkey. Coach, thank you so much for coming on today, and we look forward to our conversation with you.
Yeah, glad to be on with you guys and miss the other Jacob, but looking forward to talking to Sean as well.
So, Coach, last year you recently retired, and I just want to congratulate you on a wonderful NFL playing career and coaching career. So, how have you been adapting to the retired life so far?
It's been pretty easy too. I have my family, my two sons live in the area with their families. I've got 3 grandchildren and one more coming in October, and
Congratulations.
keep me pretty busy. And I have not been bored in a minute, so it's been good.
So have you ruled out ever coming back into coaching?
You know, I'm probably done. I coached 25 years and played 9, and the coaching part of it took a lot of my time away from my family, a lot of time, and I got a lot of making up to do. So I'm still relatively young. I'm 59. I know there's a lot of guys out there that are coaching way into their 70s, and even Dick LeBeau that I had on my staff in Tennessee into his 80s. I have a lot of time to make up with my wife, who must love me to put up with me being a coach for 25 years. I want to spend some time with her. We want to travel, and it's really nice that as a family we really have not been together in the same area other than the last couple of years, and that's really been. I get to see them. If it's not every day, it's every other day. So I don't think I'm going to go back. I didn't miss it last year. I had a chance. I talked to Arthur Smith about going back with the Falcons this past when he got hired in Atlanta, but I was upset that I didn't get hired. And then about a week later, I woke up and I said, "Thank you for not hiring me," because I have been just fine without coaching.
So you talked about Arthur Smith, and that's a guy who grew under you in Tennessee, and he's now the head coach of the Falcons. So what is Atlanta getting in the new head coach in Arthur Smith?
Well, you see a lot of the identity that I think we brought to Tennessee. It's one when I played for the Steelers with Chuck Noll, physical style of football. Obviously, running the ball has a lot to do with that, but a lot of deception, a lot of motions, a lot of shifts, a lot of personnel groupings, a lot of things being thrown at defenses that if anybody on the defense is out of whack, they're gonna be vulnerable to a big play. And Arthur, I had Arthur was a quality control coach in Tennessee when I was the tight ends coach there, and I asked Ken Wisenhunt at the time for him to, if I could have Arthur assist me with the tight ends, and he did. And then when I became the interim head coach in Tennessee, I trusted Arthur to coach the tight ends and not miss a beat because he knew my coaching style and he knew what I believed in. And Arthur had told me before, he watched from previous stints where I'd been coaching, whether it be a head coach or a coordinator, the style of football that I love, I should say. And then when I got the head coaching job, it was easy for me to keep Arthur on there as a tight ends coach. And he's obviously excelled quite quickly from that point. But it's been fun to help him along the way. When Mike Vrabel was looking for a coordinator outside the organization, I called Mike and said, you may have one right underneath your nose that can be a really good one. He's just young but he's very talented, very smart. And fortunately, Mike Vrabel listened to me, and he kept Arthur there as a coordinator. And then Arthur from there took it on his own. And but the offense you saw in Tennessee and you'll see in Atlanta has a lot to do with what I've always done.
So, Coach, you have experience both being an offensive coordinator and the head coach. What are the advantages and disadvantages of holding both of those positions?
Well, there's a lot of guys that can do both. Arthur's going to be one of them in Atlanta, where you're the head coach and you're the play caller. And I try to do that in my time in Buffalo. And there's a lot, and again, there's a lot of guys that are very successful doing it. I did not. I'll admit it. I did not. I struggled trying to handle everything. I wanted to be a part of everything because I know everything's important, and I have a big background in special teams, and it's hard to be there concentrating on the offense the entire game and not being able to focus on some of the things defensively and special teams that I take a lot of pride in. So I failed at it miserably at being able to do both, but some guys are really good. I think Arthur will do a good job. Now he's got a coordinator. All he's going to do is call the plays. So that may be a little different for Arthur.
I mean, now with Arthur this season, everyone was expecting that they were going to have Julio Jones, but just a few days ago, two of your teams that you know very well, the Falcons and the Titans, just made that Julio trade. What do you think of the trade for both teams, and how do you think both teams will fare this season?
Well, that's a splash for Tennessee. That's what John Robinson, the general manager there, he likes splashes with trades, and he did it last year with Clowney, and that didn't work out real well. But it looks good on paper right now because of Julio's past. But again, I was with Julio. I was there when we drafted Julio. I was the offensive coordinator with the Falcons back when we did draft him, and then I got to be with Julio in 2019. And he wasn't the same player, obviously. 9 and 10 years later in his career, and he missed a lot of time with injury. You don't see it during the game as much as you may see it, but he takes himself out of a lot of important plays like third downs and 2-minute drills and things like that. And those are times when he for sure needs to be in the game. So hopefully he's healthy. And I think, it's obviously they got a threat in Tennessee with those 2 wide receivers now, but if Julio's not healthy, it's irrelevant other than the picks that they gave up to get him and the money, to take up that contract. That's a huge commitment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Julio's one of the most special talents in the league, but as you said, he's been having trouble staying on the field the past few seasons. So it'll be interesting to see if Julio can finally stay on the field. And I mean, as a guy who knows Julio, what makes a player like Julio so special to coach?
Well, he didn't really need a lot of coaching. He's a special player. When we went to interview him, we interviewed him and AJ Green out of Georgia because of where we had the pick and the trades we were going to use to get to either one of them. Julio was so impressive in just the interview, let alone what he does on the field. But the thing that got me, and it was early in the interview, I said, who are you worried about covering you in the NFL when you get to the NFL? What corners are you going to compete against? And his answer was, there's nobody that can compete against me. And I turned to Mr. Blank, Arthur Blank, the owner, and we were at Alabama, and I turned to Arthur. I said, I don't have to have my conversation's over. That's enough for me. He thinks he's the best already. That says a lot. So he's very dangerous, very, very good player.
Yeah, I mean, just when you see that confidence from a player like that, and it's obviously been showing throughout his career, because Julio is probably one of the best receivers that Sean and I have seen during our lifetime.
Absolutely, he's interesting just for his size to be able to do what he does, but he's not doing it like he used to. That's when you make a trade like that, you're taking the chance that he can do it again. So,
for sure.
To touch on your stint with the Titans, one of my favorite games over the past 10 or so years is the Titans-Cheifs wildcard playoff game, where your team was down 17 points at one point during the game. What was going through your mind, and what did you tell your team to try to pull off the comeback?
Well, the thing about the team we had, and people have to remember now, we had the worst team in 2015 because we had the first pick of the draft in 2016. So our staff did an amazing job of turning a culture of a NFL team completely around, which is not easy to do in any company, let alone the NFL, when you have all these personalities of players and coaches. And so what took place to have back-to-back winning seasons in 16 and 17 and then make the playoffs in that game, nothing surprised me because of the way those guys played for each other. there was nothing big to say at the halftime. I could look in their eyes. The one thing about those guys, we were 9-7. We lost 3 late in the season, or we'd have won the division then. We had a chance to win every game we played because of the way they played. And that's all you can ask your team to do, is give yourself a chance to win. So when we were down like that in Kansas City, it did not surprise me. And the media asked me after the game, and I was like, no, I just know our team, and they know what we're capable of doing. It was a great feat for where we had come from. In 14 and 15, the win column was not, it was sparse. And to turn a team around and get into the playoffs and go to Kansas City in a very difficult place. And I've been in Kansas City a lot of times. Very difficult place to play, but to come back and win in a playoff game says a lot about not just that team, but the coaching staff that was there. So, and I had a lot of pressure. The whole staff had a lot of pressure on it because my job was being threatened that if we didn't win a game. So that staff had a lot of pressure on them to win, to try to keep our jobs, which, I know that's unbelievable to to think you're playing for your job in a playoff game when a team came from where it came. But that's the situation we were in. It was really good. I'll tell you this story, which a lot of people don't know. I had the staff in the locker room before the game, which I never do as a staff. Everybody else, this is right before the game. I called them all in there and I said, I think you all know the situation, that if we don't win this game, there's a good chance we're not going to be back as a staff. And usually, and I've been on a couple staffs, not all of them, but I've been on a couple staffs. You get fired, no one sees each other again. Everybody's at home and you don't see each other again. So I wanted to bring them together and just tell them, I said, look, we'll never be like this again if they let us go. I just want to thank each and every one of them. I walked around the whole room, thanked them all, and said, we've done an unbelievable job. And I said, I think they have a different plan here in Tennessee, and I would like to throw a wrench right into their plan, and let's go beat Kansas City and throw a wrench right into whatever they're wanting to do. So it was really cool. The next morning after the game, we had a staff meeting. And when I came in the staff meeting, there was a big lug wrench laying on my desk that one of the coaches put in there, and I could hear even coaches on the sideline when we started to come back talking about wrench. We're going to throw a wrench into them, whatever that plan is for them, for this coaching staff. And that's what I admire about our guys. They had to overcome not just the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. They had to overcome the pressure of having to win from ownership.
Yeah, the quarterback in that game, Marcus Mariota, he played himself back into that game with a touchdown that he threw to himself and stuff. But Mariota,
you know how hard that was to practice.
Was that a one-time thing, or that wasn't like a fully schedule? But that was.
What? That's somehow sometimes how you win in the NFL. You got to have the ball bounce your way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But Marcus hasn't done much in the NFL the past 2 seasons. Do you ever see Marcus becoming a starting caliber quarterback again?
Marcus struggled with injuries the whole time we were there. He's a phenomenal talent. He's very good. If you like dual threats of guys that can have an arm and can run and threaten defenses, which evens the playing surface with defenses, when a guy can, there's no more extra defender in the box, because now the quarterback, basically that extra guy that will beat you. But his inability to stay healthy hurt us. Even in the New England game we lost in the playoffs, he was hurt in the first quarter, and we couldn't do the things we needed to do to try to win the game because our quarterback was hurt again. So if he can stay healthy, and maybe he can now. Maybe he's a little older and understands the whole. You got to play through some things.
I will say there was that Thursday night game this year against the Chargers where Marcus came in for an injured Derek Carr, and he played phenomenal. He almost won that game. It was the Raiders defense that really lost the game. So I was also surprised in this offseason that he didn't get traded. So I'm hopeful, because I remember as a huge college football fan at Oregon, Marcus just was electric that whole Heisman season. He's great in that playoff game for the Titans. So I'm hopeful that he gets this opportunity again.
Yeah, he's an exciting player. He definitely is an exciting player. You just got to be able to maintain the health part of it. And there's some guys that's their career. That's how it works.
And another one of your former players I want to ask you about is one of the best running backs in the NFL, Hare. What was it like to get a chance to coach a player like Derek? And while you were there, Derek didn't really become Derrick Henry. So why now did Derrick finally reach his full potential?
Well, we had DeMarco Murray as well, who led the AFC in rushing. So we had a pretty good back in DeMarco Murray. The one nice part about it, that was a luxury pick for us in Tennessee. We had 3 second-round picks, and when we got to that third pick of the second round, John Robinson and I just looked at each other with Derrick still sitting on the table. We had just traded for DeMarco Murray, weeks before, and we said, you know what, we're a team that's going to run the football. There'll never be a break for defenses. They can never get comfortable because they've got somebody that can break it every time you hand it off. So that was kind of the case early on in Derrick's career. You knew what his talents. I mean, you look at the Kansas City game when DeMarco was hurt. What Derrick Henry did in that Kansas City game, that playoff game, that was what was about to come of his future. And so you don't realize how fast a big man is, but he's fast for his size.
I mean, I'm sure in practice you're watching this guy and you're like, how the hell do people tackle this guy?
Well, what's really funny is we were in practice one day, and Delaney Walker, our tight end, said he thought Derrick was an offensive tackle because he said, "Hey, we need a running back in here," and Derrick's like standing over him, and he thought Derrick actually was the tackle in the huddle. So, yeah, he's a beast. He definitely is a beast. He's very quiet, but very confident in what he can do. And Arthur Smith did a great job of using his talents, and if he stays healthy, he can do some damage. Now with 17 games, who knows what will happen.
So I want to shift way back to 2005 and 2006 when you were with the Miami Dolphins. And a lot of people already don't know this, but Nick Saban, who is the greatest college football coach ever, was the head coach of the Dolphins. What was it like for you to get a chance to learn under Nick Saban and see him every day as a coach?
Well, I was there for 1 year. I was with Nick in 2006, his last year with Miami. He was there 2 years. I took over for Scott Linehan as the offensive coordinator, and it was an experience. I'll say that. You really don't want to be an offensive coordinator for Nick Saban if you can help it, because if you've seen him on the sideline, they're getting an earful pretty much all the time from Nick. And it was, I'd just come from Buffalo. I was just the head coach in Buffalo, and it was a different experience for me. It was another time that I thought that I failed in, because I thought I'm a really good football coach, really smart football coach, but I had to go in there and learn a system that was in place, Scott Linehan's system, and I thought, I'm so good, I know I can do that, and I didn't do a good job of it. I've had an offensive philosophy for my whole career, and then all of a sudden I have to go in and I can't use any of it. Nothing. Nick was adamant about using nothing that I had done before, and he made it pretty clear. So I struggled a little bit with that. And then that was Nick's year that he went to Alabama. And I think what I found from Nick was he found out that players are different in the NFL, and it's hard to control players like you can at the collegiate level. And I think that frustrated him. I know it frustrated his wife, because his wife is a big recruiter for him. She does a tremendous job of getting players at Alabama. She has a knack for recruitment, and she couldn't do that in Miami. It just the comfort level. And I give him credit. He recognized that and didn't try to, he didn't try to see if he could make it happen. He went right back and has been successful since.
Did you sense a feeling of frustration from Saban early on while you were in Miami?
Yeah, I sensed it the very first morning I was on the job. Yeah, because I changed the schedule for the offense. In the morning, usually when you're in the off season, half of a day is on the draft. Your coaches are all working on the draft, and the other half of the day is working on football, your offense. And I asked the coaches there, I said, what have you got ready? You've got to teach me this offense. And they all were like, well, we haven't got anything put together. And I said, I'll tell you what, you guys go do your college stuff in the morning and we'll do football in the afternoon. Well, that was not Nick's schedule. And I found that out right away, that you don't change schedules under Nick Saban. And that was the first thing. I hadn't even unpacked the box yet. So yeah, I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, and it was exactly what I thought.
I mean, seeing Nick Saban at Alabama, you always see him ripping a player, ripping a coach. So I'm sure seeing Nick Saban in real life and being his offensive coordinator might have been scary at times. See?
No, you know what was frustrating was because I was just him, a week before, and you usually have a little respect for guys that have been a head coach in the NFL, especially one that was just one, not much earlier than a week. So that's the one thing I didn't appreciate. I understand the business, I understand the demands and the stress and all that, but I also know how to address people with respect when it comes to that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that's important in any profession.
It is. If you want it back, you want that support, you want that respect, and you want that trust, you got to show some. So it was a rocky start, but we were okay.
Yeah.
We made it through.
Yep. And I mean, you're an NFL winning playoff game winning coach, so you made it.
Yeah, we did okay. That's the one thing I'm proud of. We did good. No matter, if we didn't keep our jobs, I know what our staff accomplished, and I'm very proud of that.
So, Coach, we want to thank you for joining us today. But before we let you go, I have one final question for you. This can either be from your playing career or your coaching career. What was your favorite memory or specific memory from your football career?
Oh boy. Well, the Kansas City game comes to mind, but my first year with the Steelers playing, 1989, I was, when they had free agency was first introduced, it was called Plan B. I went from the Vikings to the Steelers, and I played for Chuck Noll, who basically my whole philosophy is based on Chuck Noll. But we started 0-2. We got beat by the Browns in Pittsburgh, 51-0. And then we went to Cincinnati and got beat 42-3. And I thought, holy cow, this is going to be a long year. Outscored 92-3 in the first two games. And Chuck Noll had the ability to come in there. And when he got done talking to our team, I thought we were 2-0. And that year we went to the playoffs. Actually, we were 4-6. And he told us, hey, if we can win 5 out of the next 6 games, we got a chance for the playoffs. And I'm sitting there next to Merrill Hodge. I said, does he understand we've won 4 of 10? He wants us to win 5 of 6. And we did, and made the playoffs. Won our first playoff game. We were 10-point underdogs down in Houston, the old Houston Oilers. And then we went to Denver, 10-point underdogs, and we lost to John Elway to go to the championship game in the last minute. And Chuck Noll, he won 4 Super Bowls and never was coach of the year, but that was the coach of the year. That year is by far I grew up a Steelers fan, to play for him, to play for Chuck Noll, and go to the playoffs, win a game in the fashion that we did. It's a great memory.
Yeah, and for sure to be a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization is also extremely cool for a hometown.
Yeah, I was with them for 11 years. I coached for Coach Cower for 8 years and played there my last 3 years. So it was an honor. I grew up watching them, loving them, and to be able to spend my time there, I still bleed a little black and gold.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on today, and it was great speaking with you.
All right, good luck with you guys.
Thank you.
A good thing going. Sean, you did good. Pressure.
Thank you.
Pressure. But good luck. If I can come on again, you guys let me know.
Of course, anytime you're welcome.